we're back out here. It is another cold day. 6 degrees again this morning. I think it was 6 yesterday. Anyway, so I got the dorky beanie on, but what the heck? It puts tunes in my ears and lights it up at night. So, got the tank out. I slept on it and I thought about this, and I get an appropriate amount of harassment because I overbuy sometimes for things like these tabs. Living out here in the middle of nowhere, I can't just run down to the parts house and the hardware. I mean, we have them, but they don't have what I need. So I have to order online, and inevitably it's not going to fit. Anyway, so I always have a little extra of everything. Some people call that hoarding, whatever. But you may recall from the other day, I ordered these other brackets here. Let me pull my gloves off, freeze for a second. Got the fire going, it'll heat us up here in a minute. But I ordered these other 4 brackets to see what was going to work for my shock mounts. Okay, 4 of these little guys prefabbed up. Again, I love fabricating, but let's be honest, for me, with the equipment and knowledge and skills I have to make 4 of these, it'd take me like an hour, easy, 2. So I just bought them because they're like 20 bucks. But I realized with this tank, so we got it out here again, 11-gallon tank, I believe, might have been 13, I think it's 11.0. And I want it to sit right here, and the bed is going to be, the bed's going to come up just behind the cab, obviously, and in front of the frame, right in this zone here. So these brackets come with these 2 little holes right there, and it's intended to mount, as you can see, flat, poof, like that, right? So I'm thinking, why get crazy? I was gonna put 2 pieces of angle iron across right here, get them lined up exactly right, drill holes in them, and mount it to that. That would provide a little additional structural integrity of the back end of this frame. I can always just put a cross membrane right here if I want to. I still need to put my fish plates on and do some other things to shore this up. Instead, I think I'm going to hit the easy button on this one, and I'm going to mount 4 of these guys, 2 here, 2 here. I can actually even I'll take this ring off of here, and I'll just bolt them right on there and line them up, get my measurements, get square, and I think that's gonna work. The only challenge at the moment is the filler lines up about there, but it is looking like, well, all right. I might be taking that back because it looks like if I square this thing up and I put my tab, golly, it's going to be like, it's going to hit like right here. So we're talking, that strap would have to come over right here. All the more reason I should have got the one with the filler too. Filler in the middle, then it would look perfect. And I don't think this is cheap, so I'm not going to order another one. I can't return this one at this point, I don't think. I've had it here for months. Dang, that would have really worked out nice. Boom, boom, 4 of these tabs. Right there, right there. Booyah diggity, we're done. Well, I'll take some measurements. I'll slide this down to this other end here. And, I can't quite do that. I got to unbolt it because obviously the outlet is down there. And I'm scratching up my tank. I didn't realize it scratched that easily. There's something for those who are reviewing it. But anyway, that's my goal. If I can make it work, I am going to use these tabs, weld them, boom, 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 and then it's done. That's easy day. And now that I'm thinking about it, if these 4 tabs don't work, it would be a little bit silly but I do have the tabs that I also have these tabs that came with my motor mounts that were intended for that and didn't end up working. These would certainly work just fine also. I could mount them up there, something like this. It looked like some massive overkill, but you know, when that tank's full of gas, it's not going to be light. But yeah, I could simply mount these something like this, you know. I'll just do it on this side, up here, and then bolt it right through them. And I could even gusset the back side a little bit. I could put a little one of those on there. So I don't think it's going to have a whole bunch of, yeah, I think that might work. Because then I think I'm going to have enough throw. Yeah, definitely. I'll have enough throw forward that my strap will live about right here on that tank. So anyway, there you go. That is not the next project. I just got excited because I realized I could use some of my extra parts instead of letting them sit around for 2 or 3 decades till I happen to remember that I have them for the next project. So anyway, that's probably what will happen. Again, probably overkill. It might actually be a whole lot easier just to put 2 straps of angle iron in there and drill them out. I think I'm going to use these. Why not? I don't have any other use for them at the moment. And so there's the plan. We got the tank. I'm going to go back to finishing all my welds on the rear end, cleaning it up and getting it ready for paint today. That is, I want that rear end done by the end of the day. Then I might go ahead and do this. I need to, you know, I'm a little anxious. I want it to sit toward the front here as much as possible, just for aesthetics mostly. I've been going through this debate last night over where to put my battery. And I'm thinking it could live kind of right here. Something like this. Okay, right? If I can get it to balance. Underneath the seat. Right? So I don't know if y'all, yeah, you can see that. So, you know, the seat of this Model A or Model T, it has kind of a compartment under it, right? It's just a hollow underneath the seat. So there is space, and that's why, I'll move this out of the way so you can see. That's why I built my driveline loop the way that I did. This is 10 inches tall, and the seat's like 11. So if I ever end up putting different kinds of seats in this truck, then I'm gonna have to deal with that anyway. So I think I'm gonna live with the seat height and situation that I have going in there. Anyway, in which case I could mount my battery underneath the seat, and that seat bottom just comes out. It just is a piece of plywood with a little bit of cushion on it, which I might I'll probably put more cushion, recover it, and all that kind of stuff. That's like a gazillion years down the road. So it could live there, but my dad made the very good point that if I had the battery live back here, like most guys do, one, it'd be a little more accessible, which I guess once I have seat belts in and things, it might make it harder to get that seat bottom in and out, but it's pretty easy to take in and out right now. But he recommends having it live like right here. Boom, right? So right behind the rear end on this right side to help with launch traction, squat, and all that. Makes sense. I just would need to build out some sort of a bracket right here to have it live right there. You know, my bed is basically going to be like this, right? So I'll twist you over here. You can see the bed sitting over there for visual. Okay, so my bed, you know, the frame is going to sit about in the middle of this bed right here. And I know that's probably looks crazy on your TV right at the moment, but I'll come back in a second. Okay, so if I put the battery where the top is level with the frame, it's not going to be below the bottom of the bed, I don't think. But that's I need to put some measurements on it today and all that to figure that out. But again, one thing at a time. I'm gonna finish the rear end. Then I might actually mount this tank, and then I can start thinking about where my fuel lines are gonna go and all that. But before I get crazy with that, I wanna finish off cap off the ends, or at least certainly put my fish plates on and make sure my frame is structurally sound. I'm gonna have to pull my engine. I wanna flip it up, get my welds really nice. And I think I've decided to paint this thing black. I was gonna leave it natural steel. It looks kind of cool like that. But now that I have mixed new and old, it's starting to look kind of weird. So anyway, there's a long dialogue. Follow along. I'll put you on the time lapse. I'm gonna finish my welding on this rear end and finish the welding on the rear end. Then I'll think about maybe mocking up my tank. I'm gonna measure and make sure that if my bed sits like I think it will, I'm planning for it to, that it's all gonna work. And I might actually use those tabs also on the front right here, because here's what I was thinking. You know, I'm gonna need a way, when my bed sits on here, the front is gonna come down right here, okay? So I'm gonna need a way to mount it, and I was thinking I would make like a little platform at the right height. But I think easier than that, I, again, can mount a tab here and a tab there on the inside. It's at 90 degrees to the frame. Then when the bed slides down, I can just bolt it wherever I need to. You know, on the front, I'll just drill 2 holes in the front of that bed, just bolt that sucker. Over time, maybe it would wallow those holes out and wear them, but I don't think so. You know, and then I could always go in and mount some supports on the bottom, but that'll allow me to get the bed on there, get it exactly like I like it relative to the rear end, the frame, the battery now, and the tank, and the cab, and then go. That's where I like it. Mark it with my holes up there, drill it out, done. And then on the back, you may recall, I believe we talked about, it has 2 tabs on the bottom down here. And I'm just gonna anchor it on the sides here at like some angles, probably at the same angles, hopefully that 13 to 15 degrees as my shocks. I think it'll look cool to, you know, it'll look clean to have it anchored like that. And then ultimately I can build, the way I have this measured out, it'll have the bed hanging over like this much, and I can build a tailgate that's going to cover that. And so if I have my battery sitting in there, you won't see it anyway. And I think it'll look good from the back end. You know, you don't want a bunch of weirdness hanging out. So I think I have a plan. There is 14 minutes of in your life. Hopefully you didn't mind. But now we'll time lapse it. Looks like I need to stoke the fire. It's going out on me, and get after it. Just start knocking these things down. So watch along if you want. We'll catch you in a few minutes on the time lapse. It shouldn't take long. It'll take me all day. All right, next. Got plenty to do, but because I already got interest in setting the fuel tank and the brackets for that, which obviously has to have to get done before I paint this thing. I think I'm going to do that. And as I already mentioned, I thought about, and it looks like I got some kind of weirdness going here. Let me, bear with me here a second, sorry. As I already mentioned, I thought I'd put 2 pieces of angle iron in here. I'll probably regret not doing that. And just boom, boom, 2 pieces of angle iron. It would help with the structural integrity of the frame, not twisting and whatnot, but I'm gonna have 2 cross members, obviously the back. If I want to, I can always put one here, and which I might do anyway, as I mentioned in the last little video there, which you probably just saw. My plan is to take and use a couple of those smaller tabs and put them right here, and just mount the bolt the front of the bed straight to it. And I might actually use all 4, and then I'll have 4 mounting points, and it'll look pretty slick. So anyway, so here we are. The advantage to putting 2 pieces of angle iron is that I can easily square and get my holes where they are going to be square to the tank. Because if my holes, so my frame angles out like this, which means if I just put these on here at a 90 to the frame, it's gonna, these brackets are gonna be twisted. So you know, there's always something to consider. I got a bunch of nuts and bolts. I could measure and look and take, you know what I should do is I should go and get the drawing. I'm sure I can find it online for that tank, get the actual specs. It'll tell me exactly how big it is, what the distance is between these holes, measure it all out, get it exactly right. That's the right way to do it. I'm gonna redneck it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bolt this on here like this, where it would go. And I'm going to get my brackets lined up and eyeball it, right? Because I know this is the most furthest forward piece of the bracket. So I'm just gonna set it on there, eyeball it. I'll probably take my handy little laser, throw a laser on the front of that frame right there at the top of the L to make sure that I have plenty of room, because the bed's gonna go over in front of this right here. So as long as I don't go further than that, I'm good. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna redneck it. I'm gonna bolt these together, get my magnets, set them, shoot a laser, make sure that this most forward part isn't too far forward. I'll give myself, you know, an inch, just for sanity's sake, to make sure I don't somehow mess that up. And then I will throw tape on, make it square. Make sure these 2 are square to one another. Probably again with the laser, because it gives me a very nice 90, like a 90 the front ones, and then if I have to tweak the back ones in a little like that. Boom, 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 booyah, diggity, as I say way too much, which is kind of a silly thing to say. But anyway, okay, there's the plan. I will do like I always do, put you on a time lapse, bolt these on both sides, get them with the magnets, throw my laser, make sure I'm not in the way of anything, and then I'll know exactly where I need them. I'll mark them. Actually, probably what I'll do is tack them, because I'd like to put a gusset underneath. I don't know that I need one, but I probably would regret not doing it if I don't. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack them once I get it all set. And then here, in sometime in the not so distant future, I'm going to be pulling the engine, tranny, and disconnecting the whole frame anyway, flipping it over so I can weld all my stuff from underneath. And when I do that, I'll make 4 little gussets, stick them in there, boom, boom, weld them on, boom, boom, boom. So I think it doesn't matter. Or I'll cut 4 gussets real quick and weld them on right now, and then I'll stick them on there, and then they'll be there and ready to go. Probably better. Probably going to do that. So that's what you're going to watch me doing. Cut my 4 gussets, center them on these brackets, weld them on, put the brackets where they need to be, make sure they are square to the tank. They're at a perfect 90 and parallel to one another, so the tank will go right through. And then I'm going to tack them up, weld the tops. When I flip the frame over, I'll weld the bottoms, and we'll have another thing done. And I think that's where I want to live. I did also take my hand, take the old tape measure. I did give it an eyeball. I believe the tank's diameter is actually 9 inches, which means that it'll be sitting somewhere in it. Obviously I could just go right here. It's 10, okay? So it's gonna sit 10 inches up from here. And I know that this top of this frame, I believe, is going to sit 5 inches from the front of the top of the bed. And so it will be sticking 5 inches out. But the real critical piece, I don't think I've shown you, my cab, the back of my cab is going to sit flush with the bottom of the frame. So I'll be putting some mounting tabs also right here, which all the more reason I might just put a cross member in. Sorry. Might just put a cross member in here and use it to bolt the front of my bed too, because it will give us stability and all that. And then I can use my tabs down here, because I'm going to need to put 2 tabs on the bottom of this frame right here, where the cab sits. And again, I want to put the cab on here with the wheels and tires on, the suspension, and figure out exactly what kind of rake I want on the top of the cab. Because I can lift the back of the cab up a little or down a little right here, and then up on the sides of this upward part of the frame on the outsides, and just set my tab, weld it on, and that's where it's going to live. So, but I think it's going to be at the bottom. So the point is, from the bottom of the cab to the top of the tank, it's going to be, it's 19 inches to here, so it's going to be 29 inches. Okay, so the top of my tank is going to live 29 inches up on the back of the cab. So let's swing you over here real quick. Okay, and I know this is going to end up looking a little crooked on the TV, I think, or computer, whatever. But, so my concern was, I don't want my tank to be way up on the cab. So if I measure right here, from the bottom of the cab up 29 inches, the top of the tank is going to land, the top will land right about here, right between those 2 ribs on the cab, right in that general area. And then, then the bed is going to live 5 inches down from there or so. So it's going to look good, I think. It'll be sticking out 3 to 5 inches out of the bed, and it's going to live about the middle of the cab, which lines up nicely with there's a line on the back of the cab here. So just check it. I think it's going to look real good. Sitting right there, it'll be below the back window, boom, kind of centered right in the back of the cab, centered middle high. So, I mean, this is all part of it. Who knows what it's going to look like when it's done, but I have a vision, and I think I'm getting there. So, back to the task at hand. Time lapse. I'm going to throw some gussets, cut some gussets, throw on these 4 tabs, get the tabs lined up, and get those welded on as fast as I can without making it look like garbage. All right, so nothing's ever easy. Well, all of this is basically pretty easy, but nothing's ever incredibly straightforward. So I doubt you can see it from there, so I'll bring it over. These brackets, okay, this cut right here is not 90 degrees. Looks like it's 90 degrees, feels like it's 90 degrees. It is not 90 degrees. So, in order to, I'm trying to put this gusset on there, brace. I want it 90 degrees to the frame, I think, because I think that's going to provide the most stability. Nobody's ever going to see this unless they get underneath and look up. So it doesn't matter if I square this bracket to the one I'm mounting, okay, which would be like that. It's going to be crooked relative to the bracket itself. And I think I want to center it on the hole like that. Because I thought about putting it over here. All the leverage is going to be right at the hole. So that looks goofy to me. Because it's not the bracket itself is not square, but just so that later on when somebody's like, why did you do that way? That's why. I'm making it at a 90 to the frame, and these brackets are not going to be a 90 to the frame. They're going to go kind of like that. But my gusset's going to be at a 90 to the frame because I think that's going to provide the most stability. So there you go, back at it. I just figured I'd document the why while I'm thinking of it, because who knows? Someday somebody's gonna be like, "What? This looks weird under here," but that's why I did it that way. I wanted 90 to the frame to provide the most stability at the center of the hole, and I'll use the brackets I have. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. The gussets I have are 3 inches on the long side, triangles obviously. But I think I am going to actually mount my battery on this side of the frame, in which case I'll have the power, the cables going from here all the way to the front of the car. And I'm going to want to run it nice and clean on the inside of this frame. Which will mean it's going to end up living underneath these brackets on this side. Okay, so the bracket's going to live right here. And if I go with a full 3 inches of the frame, then I'm going to end up having to drill holes or find a way around it. So I'm going to cut one of these in half, and I'm just going to go with half as deep a gusset on this side. I'm debating maybe putting 2. I don't think it's necessary, though. I think it's going to be plenty strong with just half as much gusset, because that's a pretty big gusset there. So, we'll see how many lessons I'm learning, but that's the plan. So I'm going to grab the plasma cutter, cut that sucker in half. If I do a good job, I won't even need to grind it, but I probably will end up grinding it. And then I'll weld up the 2 for this side. And then we're ready to get them square and tacked, and on we go. That's what we're doing. All right, this is going to seem a little silly for all you pros, but I'm always so satisfied when I cut with the plasma cutter and it comes out pretty darn straight. Anyway, this is small things. I'm going to step over to the grinder, clean these up real quick, and then we'll get back to welding. Alright guys, we got her mocked up, and I don't hate it. You saw what I did. I went ahead and tacked these front mounts. Hold on. Every time. I wish I could just play what I want to and listen to it as I go through. But anyway, got her mocked up. I measured the front of the bracket in 2 inches from the front based on my calibrated redneck eyeball. And you saw I put the tank in, got it all set. As anticipated, because of the geometry of these brackets, I'm going to have some pretty good little gaps to fill on these front brackets because the frame is getting wider as it goes back, right? And so those brackets have to sit in further to make this strap exactly, these straps parallel to one another. So I'm going to end up with a bit of a gap right here. I can cheat it a little bit. They're a little bit forgiving, but I don't want to cheat so much that it's obviously off 1 or 2. It has, it's so far off that it's rubbing. It's going to rub a hole in the tank. So then I threw this, through the level just to use as a straight edge back on the front of the frame, just because this is the time to change something if it looks like I messed up. And I will say it's closer than I thought it was going to be because these brackets they actually wrap and attach in the back over here further down than I thought, which makes the top bracket actually. All right guys, we're back on here. The camera died, so I got it where I could reach a receptacle and charge it. So anyway, as I was saying, with my calibrated redneck eyeball, I put this level on here just to serve as a straight edge. And it looks like, if I look straight down this, and in fact, I might as well just grab you guys real quick and let you look yourselves. You can see it's close, but I think I'm gonna have enough room for the front of the bed to go in front of the uprights on the frame, obviously, and still clear by about 1/4 of an inch, which is kind of what I was going for, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. It's closer than I thought it was gonna be, but I think it'll work. So let me throw you back up here again. So next step, as I was saying, that means these brackets, because the frame gets wider as it goes back, these brackets right here are gonna be off the frame a little bit. My plan was to twist them so one end's hitting the frame and have a bigger gap at the other end, so I have at least one good stable spot. I'm going to compromise in the middle and just have a pretty good little gap I need to fill there, and hopefully it'll still have enough structural integrity. As a reminder, I have the gussets underneath that adds structure, so I think I'm going to be fine. I'm going to make sure they're level, measure again, front to back as a rough measurement to this weld line on the tank. We're looking at 4 1/4 on this side and right at 4 1/4 on that side. So I like where this one is living right now. I don't think there's anything else I need to consider. Obviously the tank's offset a little bit right now. When I mount it, I'll get it centered before I run my fuel line out the bottom and everything. But I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side and then tack them up, pull the tank off, put it away so it stays kind of shiny as I can keep it. Not that shiny is necessarily what we're looking for, but, and then I'll weld all the tops of these up and then on to the next step. Probably designing and cutting fish plates and capping off the front of this frame. You may or may not recall I never did put anything on this open gap on the front of the frame right here. So kind of get my Z, L, whatever, my step in my frame buttoned up. And then we'll go from there. So let's finish this project first. I'll put you on the old time lapse here and catch you. All right, let's see how bad I did. So here's what it came out looking like. You can see everything's lined up. Hopefully you can see that okay. There we go. So now, and you saw I took the tank, I mocked it all up, everything lined up good, and I think it's gonna work. I think it looks a little odd when the tank's not on there, but again, it's what I had, and it leaves this middle available for different things, and these plates might come in handy to drill other holes if and when I ever put some sort of a bed in here, bottom to the bed, some sort of a platform. It'll be nice to have that. I think I am probably going to not use the tabs like I anticipated, and instead I'm either going to just put a piece of angle iron right here that I now can mount the front of the bed to, or when I cap these things off right here, which I might just do here in about a minute, I'll just make them either leave them wider, right, and then weld them from the back, which I think would give it more structure anyway. And I could even give it a little bit of a rounded deal here with a flat kind of thing to give it a tab. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe let me stick you right here where you can kind of see. Sorry for the bad camera work there, but here's what I'm talking about. I'm thinking, I know I've talked about this 97 times. I'll probably edit all the 96 out there. I'm thinking a square right here, and then taking and making, I could make this even just a straight oval right here, and that would give a nice big platform and drill a hole in it, and then I'd have a mounting point. Or I could make it a square oval like that and then come down something like this. Stand by just a second, let me show you something. Again, in the interest of time, and because it didn't cost a whole bunch of money, I pick you up just a little bit here. I ordered up a whole bunch of these when I started this project, prefabbed 90s gussets. I'm thinking I could use one right here, right? And then I could just take, and so that this isn't such an aggressive deal, I could take and round that off nice and clean and just weld that right on there. We'll see. As I'm thinking about it, I do again like the simplicity and structural integrity that a cross member right there would provide, because also again, if I ever build something to go in the bed here, that would be yet another place I could mount it. Ooh, that's hot. Yep, those welds are still hot. Anyway, you got that on camera. So there you go. I'm talking, the old KISS principle. Keep it simple, simple. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS principle. Anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is one of the two of those options, maybe the cross members, and then I could just simply take one of these plates and weld it. Okay, doke. Up next, I think while I have it all exposed and I'm working in this area right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a piece of angle iron and measure it out. Weld in a piece of angle iron right there. I could put a full square tube. That'll make actually installing a bolt in there a little bit of a pain. I don't think it's necessary for actual square tube there, so I'm going to take a quick measurement and cut this down. I'm going to drill a couple holes just in here, I don't know, an inch or two, nice and even, symmetrical, because it's just I'm going to end up drilling a hole right through that bed anyway, and that bed's all kind of bent up on the front, so I'm not hugely worried about the location, but I'll drill them before I weld it, because that obviously will be a lot easier. So question number one, do I weld this in like this, cut it, weld it in right there, or should I weld it in like that inside there? If I do it like this, when I go to put my bolts in, I'll be reaching in from the top of the bed, I assume, and it'll be a lot easier access to those bolts, all right? Because that bed's going to be here, like that. I think it'll be easier access. However, if I do put a lid on it or a lid in the bed and the bed's sitting down here and I have it like this, then it would be just as hard or harder than if I have it like this. The other piece here is if I'm assuming I won't install the gas tank until I have the bed on. But it's just dawning on me that if I have that bed on, yeah, I guess I can put the rings on the gas tank with the bolts already in the bottom with the bed on and set it down so the bolts go right through these holes. That's how I'll have to do it. Because if I already have the bed on and the rings mounted, I can't slide that tank in from the side, obviously. So that's how I'll have to do it. Or I put the tank on and then I lower the bed over, but I don't think, which it'll be close. I don't know that there's enough width to put it down. That's how my brain works, but you need to think about all this stuff when you're building it so you don't build yourself into a corner where now I can't get my tank on because my bed's in the way or vice versa. Anyway, I think for aesthetics and for access underneath and for all the more easier it would make, which is not that much easier, to be able to reach in from the top and put a bolt in, I can certainly just reach in and reach around this angle iron. And I think it'll look a lot cleaner if I have the angle of the angle iron match the angle of the frame. Maybe there's some other reason to do that. You tell me what you think. Would you put it this way so that you can easily access the bolts, or would you do it like I think I'm going to, weld it in this way and just have those bolts hidden underneath that angle iron and accessible from the bottom? Anyway, a lot of talking, not much doing there. So let's take the measurement on that. As anticipated, that is 2 feet, 24 inches on the nose. Double check, 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet. So I'm gonna take a 2 foot measurement and grab my chop saw, get it plugged in, and get this thing cut and weld it in. So I'll do the old time lapser, and I'll do it in a way where you can see me working over there on the drill press, hopefully as we go here. All right. All right, guys, in the spirit of motivating others, I had about 30 minutes to do this, and it's been 32. So, measured, cut, drilled, boom, it is ready to weld in. I'm gonna grab the magnets here. And yeah, we're there. I gotta go pick up my kiddo. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll come back, and when I have more time, I'll weld it in. But in the meantime, I wanted to let you know that, you know, even if you just have 30 minutes, go do something. Get her done. 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, one more little cross member, another cross member. Messes, dropping stuff, rushing. Anyway, as you can see, I got the holes drilled where I expected. They're 2 inches in, ½ inch up. I think it's going to work just fine. They will be tucked away and I think look kind of nice. So if I can get my magnets to hold properly here real quick, we will just leave it right about there. Boy, I am making this magnet thing look horrible. I don't know why I made that so difficult. Didn't have to be. Anyway, you got 30 minutes to do something, do it. And then it'll take you 30 more to get your magnets set, apparently. So, I'm gonna go grab my kiddo. When I get back, I'll weld that thing in. And that part of the project will be done. And then I can move. Okay, I'm back. Got that cross member, chunk of angle iron in there, held up with some magnets. Shockingly hard to get that to do that. I don't know why, but I'm gonna flip the welder on, tack it, and we'll weld her up. .7, 90. I do think it's a little high in the back. That's what I thought. So just a touch. And I'm gonna do the same over here. 90.4. 89.8, 90.1, again, it's just barely needs to go down. Every time, you know what? Do it again. I'll bring you back so you don't have to watch me struggle. I'll get it all squared up one more time and then we're just gonna weld it. If it's off by 0.2 of a degree, so be it. All right, we got her done. Got warmed up with my frustration, but there we go. This is showing 89, 90 degrees, almost exactly. This is showing, as you can see, 80, 90 degrees, exactly. Don't touch. I'm gonna tack that sucker and off we go. Okay, there you go. We're tacked in. I'm going to weld her up. Put you on the old time lapse for that so you don't have to get bored. And then we'll start talking about some fish plates.